Welcome back to the Modern Mindfulness Podcast. It's me, Rebecca, and today I have Marley Musarra. Hey, Marley.
Hello.
Hello. I'm so excited to get into our conversation today. But first, let me introduce you to Marley. I've actually known her a few years through various programs, like another just cool internet connection and yoga teacher connection. But professionally, Marley is a yoga teacher based out of Verkin, Utah. She also teaches Into Your Heart, Answering Your Quarter Life Calling courses, as well as leading women's retreats around the world. She prides herself on leading her life as well as her offerings from the heart. Marley lives for joy, play, self-discovery, personal growth, vulnerability, wonder, and awe. Along with being a yoga enthusiast, she's a deep connector, world traveler, dog mama, and soon-to-be baby mama, forever student of life, and lover of everything outdoors. She believes magic is possible in our everyday lives and seeks to inspire others to feel the same. Officially welcome to the show, Marley.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in hearing that, I always like to ask folks like, okay, you just heard your bio and what feels important is there something missing? Is there something even more relevant today? Like to let the world know like who you are, what you're up to, what you love.
Yeah. Hearing, I'm like, dang, that's long. But I just added yesterday for the first time ever, soon to be baby mama. It was like dog mama before, but yeah, we were chatting right before this. You're like, you want people to know you have a husband? I'm like, oh yeah, Ty, I love you. There's your shout out. But yeah. It's so hard to wrap anyone up into a bio, but I always try to make sure there's balance at least of it's just who I am as a human outside of profession or wife or whatever it is. Yeah.
All the labels, all the titles. There's still so much more. So when this is actually a reschedule, we were supposed to chat months ago, and I think now is even more a powerful time to like have you on the show and have you talk about life. And since we have rescheduled, months have gone by, you have been over to Thailand for an 8-day silent meditation. Is it called a retreat? Like, tell me more. Like, I really just want to start there and dive into like, what was that experience like? What led you there? I don't even know where to start. I'll let you kind of take it away.
Yeah, I think they did call it a retreat, I believe. Yeah, it was called a retreat. And it was a Buddhist meditation center and actually like a monastery as well, which was so cool to do specifically in Thailand. A silent retreat is something that has been kind of on my mind and for years now. Like in college, I remember some friends did a day in silence, and since then it's kind of been there. And even last year was like, this is the year I'm doing silence, and it wasn't. And yeah, I have had a dream of going to Thailand for quite an extended period of time. I was there for almost 2 months, and I never thought, oh, I'm going to do silence while there. And I was just like, you know what? 2 months is a long time. Like I will make some time for silence because yeah, with it being a Buddhist country, it was such a unique experience to have there. It felt like I can't really imagine doing it elsewhere now, but I will. Yeah.
Was there something about the silence? I mean, if this has been like a little whisper in your mind for a while, could you connect with what it was? Was it just wanting space? Was it just curiosity? Like do you know what that little flicker of
silence?
I'd
say it started with curiosity, definitely. Just I heard about it. It's like, and it's so interesting because the curiosity came from like, I can't imagine not talking for that long. And that was like so not the scary part at all once it was real. Like I didn't care if I was talking or not. It was just like, oh, I'm alone with my own thoughts and meditation. I'm in meditation for almost a whole day, which we'll get into the schedule, I'm sure, at some point. But I'd say when it really turned on and the curiosity kind of got a lot stronger was I was having a lot of TMJ issues. And I noticed that started around the time that I started teaching yoga. And I'm like, okay, I went from being a college student and like receiving information all day long, pretty much silent in classes and at the library, to now like my job is to speak for 60 to 90 minutes straight, pretty much teaching. And I was like, wow, my jaw hurts this year. And it was COVID too. And I heard like TMJ spiked way up during COVID, probably due to stress. But yeah, I was like, I wonder what it would be like to just not talk for a week. That sounds like wonderful right now. So it actually went from being a curiosity to being like, that sounds incredible to not talk for a week. Yeah.
So was it incredible?
It was not at first, totally not at first. But by the end, oh my gosh, it was astounding. And I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to hear anyone else talk.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So take us through like what's a regular day like there? Are you living by yourself in like a dorm room or something? And then are you up meditating in the morning? Like what's a sample day at something like that?
Yeah. And I actually meant to pull the schedule up before this and I forgot, but I'll do my best. It's been, let's see. So I did it in mid-March and now it's end of June. It feels like a decade ago now, but so we were in dorms and it was separated male, female, like two separate dormitories way far away on the property. And in our own little shoebox room, I had a window, some didn't. And I mean, yeah, this part is so notable. It was a wooden bed with a wooden pillow. And like, that was all we could have. I mean, we could have whatever we wanted, but no books, no journals. Like you turned in all your electronics at the beginning. And I think the wooden pillow part was very specific to it being a Buddhist monastery. Like, I don't think that's most silent retreats the deal. But everyone's always like, what was the hardest part? And I'm like, the wooden pillow.
Literally the wooden pillow. You're talking like it's literally like wood.
Yeah. And actually, if you can sleep on your back, it'd be really nice. I don't do well on my back, but it's like a C curve.
Like cradles. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I realized I'm like, this is probably like good for your neck, maybe, but if I sleep on my side. So I like had bruised hips by the end of
Oh my gosh.
And that was the part where I was just like, I'd 100% do this 10 times over, but like bring me some cushion or something. But
yes, please. Yeah. Okay. So then are they,
that's the living situation and very minimal, no mirrors, nothing like that. And every day we had a 4:30 a.m. bell go off, I think. Yeah. And it was like a literal like big gong that they'd ring up at the top. It was a large, beautiful property. And I think that helped so much. Like it was the most magical, full of palm trees looking down at the ocean. Like it was insane. So that was definitely helpful too. But yeah, we had 30 minutes to get up to the top, which I would count the stairs every single day to like keep my mind on something. I think I forget now. I want to say it was like, no, that has to be so much. I want to say it was 550. I'm like the number is gone, but every single day I'd be like one or two short. And finally, like by the end of the week, I'm like, okay, I got the number, whatever it is, 4 times. That's what it is. But so many stairs up. We meditated for 30 minutes, 5 to 5:30, and then we would do yoga for an hour. And it was a lead practice, but you could also go do your own thing if you wanted. Super basic, just like getting into the joints, like very dry, like this is the pose, do it, breathe. And then another 30 minutes of meditation, like breakfast, and then we would have like silent hour and chores. Everyone got assigned a chore. And then back at it for the afternoon. We added walking meditation in, which was like one of my favorite things that I took from that. I had never done it in the way that they did it before. So then we do like 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off of walking and then sitting. And we did get 2 hours of like Buddhist lecture every day. I think it was 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I wish I would have looked at the schedule, but anyhow, the whole day was either meditating or we got like those silent hours, and we did get to hear the lectures, which was cool. And then we did Pali chanting, so Buddhist language. And yeah, that was really cool. Again, it would just like look forward to it because it was kind of like singing and it was just like a little spark in the day.
Oh, so you could use your
Um,
voice for that.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was, I think, 30 minutes of chanting. And then loving kindness was a guided one, which we did for 30 minutes a day, where, yeah, I think most people know loving kindness, but I love the specific one they did. I'm like, where can I find that? Because that's what I want to do.
Mm.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
the way that they would describe it, the words they'd use, like,
yeah. And I think it just felt very like to the core of what it is.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, sounds so like a blend of like vacation getaway, like palm trees and ocean, and just like having that routine every day where you don't have to do like all the other regular, lifey stuff. That sounds nice. But then also can't imagine having a wooden pillow. And then comes the point, like, did you get to a, like, I don't want to say breaking point, but like midway through or something? Did it get harder before it got easier, or any challenges or anything like that?
Yes. So challenging. At the end, it was like a lot of us just like, what's like one word? We got to talk at the very end, and people were like, challenging, like, and a lot of other synonyms of that. Just like for me, it was humbling, was my
Mm.
word. But it absolutely, I think it was like day 2 that felt so difficult. It was like, oh, the other thing was we didn't eat after lunch other than a banana and tea. So like by noon you were finished eating. Uh,
Wow.
that was the part at the beginning that was also just really hard. Like I was about to get my moon and like my body needed extra calories. But it
Yeah.
did help with the meditations. I feel like I even felt as like just detoxing sugar and all of that. By the end, it was just like there's a lot more clarity with having less metabolizing to do and all that. But
Wow. Yeah.
that was probably the hardest part. Like come day 2, I'm like, I'm so hungry. um, and that was distracting, and that also I was struggling to stay awake, like because my sleep routine was changing. I didn't share, but I think we meditated till like 9 p.m. at night.
Hmm.
We were done and slept, woke up at 4:30, but it was just to like only be meditating all day. I would fall asleep and fall asleep. So I spent the first few days like splashing my face as much as I could and having like this peppermint sniffer and just keeping my eyes open. And I would fall asleep meditating with my eyes open. And I was having a hard time because I was like, I'm here, like I want to get the benefits out of this and I can't stop falling asleep. And we were allowed to like bring something to, he wasn't a monk, but whoever the head like teacher was. And I was just like, do you have any suggestions? I cannot stop falling asleep. And he just kind of laughed at me. It's like, just splash your face with cold water. It happens. And
Oh
he
my
was
gosh.
so like gentle and chill with us, which was really cool. I think because he had that head roll, he kind of balanced it out with being like, don't take yourselves too seriously.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was difficult because I felt like I wasn't like I was there and I couldn't stay awake. But then when it really got good, and this kind of ties into your podcast so well, was they do the lecture and he started talking about like we're not just meditating when we come into our seats and then we have to go back to ground zero every single time. He's like, from the moment you rise until the moment you rest, you can be mindful. And it's not that I didn't know that, but like the way he explained it was so perfect for what at least I personally needed. And everything changed once it turned into like, oh, when I get up from my seat, when the meditation bell rings and I walk down to lunch, like that can still be a meditation. And then eating each bite of food, like it's not that I wasn't already being slow and attentive, but turning it into like being just as mindful as the meditations themselves. Then it became really like juicy and pleasurable and amazing. It was like every step of my foot felt so good, and every like movement of my hand to wash a dish. And
Hmm.
yeah, so they kind of let us like struggle through it for a day or two, and then it's like, all right, there's 5 days left. You want to make this a little less hellish? And yeah, that was the shift for me, where it became really magical and exciting to be like, look at what's possible. Like, look how good doing nothing can feel like.
Yeah.
And not just meaning nothing, but just like walking from here to there, whatever it was. It just was so nice. Like, even to wake up in the morning and like the first roll over to my side, like how he explained it was, you don't just do something, you like have the intention to do it and you think about doing it and then you do it. It's like, rather than like the bell rings and you get up, you say, okay, the bell just rang, I'm gonna get up now. And it's like that.
Yeah.
So that was so cool.
I love that. Just like kind of the slowing down piece too, that I think most people can benefit from these days. And then even to just feel like what all these mystics or whatever sage teachers for years and years have said, the present moment is it, you know, like be here now and all of it. And just to like really feel like even just dissecting like an action. Cause I'll do it like when I'm teaching yoga and people, I'm sure you see it too. It's like, they know the class is over. They just want to roll off to one side or spring right up to a seat and get out the door. It's like, feel each step, feel the thought in your head, feel it translate into emotion. And it's just like, I just think it's in our culture to override the steps that your people there were just pointing out. Even something so simple as like waking up in the morning. Like, do you just sit upright, or like, can you just take 2 seconds and feel the process? And that is being more mindful, which then can make life more magical, as you're sharing. Right?
Yeah.
Like, just so good. Yeah. It's making me think too. I've done some like ceremony type stuff or plant medicine type stuff. And it's like, live in ceremony is what one of the shamans had said. You know, it's like, it's not just when you come to these puddles of things and do all the work. It's like, you can like live in ceremony. And that was definitely a message I've gotten through meditations and of all sorts, of just like, this is it. Like, life can be the gift, you know, we don't have to escape. But at the same time, so going back to the retreat, like, what were you most looking forward to? Like, as the days were getting near the end, were you finding yourself missing things, or you said you like kind of wanted it to go on, but was there any like longing for modern life or certain foods or voice?
I was looking forward to talking to Ty, because I took this whole trip by myself. This whole like, I think it ended up being 45 days or something, but yeah, it was something that I'm like, I've always wanted to do this by myself. It wasn't in the plan that I was going to meet my forever person yet, so I got to go do it still. And yeah, I just like, in the purity of the meditations and everything really was just so potent, because there was like, I don't know, the veil was lifted, and it was just like, I felt more in love with him than I ever have. And yet I haven't been able to talk to him, but I felt so connected, but I just couldn't wait to be like, hi again. That dance and like hearing song, and it took, I think, a full 24 hours till I was like, okay, I'm gonna play a song now.
Wow.
And I played Walk Quietly by Trevor Hall, because every footstep during meditation, like that song would kind of come in, and it was like the quietest I'd ever walked. And yeah, the second that like his voice came in, I fell to my knees sobbing, like wailing, sobbing, because it was just like, and that was such an unexpected benefit of this whole thing, was like, life was just that much more raw. Like, everything was so raw and intense. And yeah, I keep using that word. So singing and dancing again, I loved that. Those were kind of the things. And the fact that we looked down at the ocean, we were way up in the mountains, and we saw the ocean every day, only if we went and did walking meditation at the stupa. But so that was like, I saved stupa meditation for the end of the day for me. Like, when I was starting to get tired, like that was my treat, was I could look down at the ocean, and I saw it every day. So to like dip in the ocean for the first time was, yeah, I was longing for that. Yeah.
Just sounds so simple, like, but like what life is all about, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, depending on your opinion, but I don't know. I think those things like that is life, the being and just being with nature and
Mm.
that's it, being in love and feeling that energy. And then I mean, I love some Trevor Hall. And so it's like just those things that we love and like the beauty of being like a human and not living the monk life and not letting that be your everyday. Like, I know for me, when I take a little step away like that, never 8 days, but like, oh my God, I love the humanness. Like I love this human experience so much more. So kind of like missing Ty and like just feeling that and hearing the music and like just letting that be felt. I mean, so when you heard Trevor's voice in that song, was it the echo of his voice? Was it the energy? Do you know what it was? Was it just like hearing words again from a voice that you love? Was it the music tones or?
It's a voice that I love, of course, so much and means so much to me, but it was, yeah, to hear like song that I love for the first
Yeah.
time again. Like it penetrated so deep within me and it was so unexpected. Like that was the crazy part, was I was just kind of like videoing. I had this massive mirror where I went to stay after and I was just like videotaping dancing. I had a friend who was in the retreat with me, but she left 3 days early or something, and yeah, we were slowly coming back into contact and I videotaped it to send to her and I had no
Wow.
expectation that that would have happened, and it was crazy. But
Mm.
yeah. The other thing, I loved how you mentioned, yeah, these human things. I was like chocolate ice cream. Like I was like, I want chocolate ice cream again. And that was like in grilled cheese, which was bizarre. And I got grilled cheese in Thailand and it was horrible.
Oh gosh. So say that sounds amazing, but yeah.
But it was like the weirdest
Not-
thing. But yeah, that was totally how I left, because I think I had this little bit of me that was like, what if like I love this so much that it changes everything? Like, what if I decide to go like live a nun life or something? And I didn't know. And it was like I left 100% confident that like I got what I needed and that I love the human things. Like
Mhm.
I love being naked. I love dancing. I love good food. Like I left with such a deeper appreciation for all of those things and
Mm.
realizing like that's okay that I love those things. Like that's
Right.
my path totally is not to go meditate in a cave for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Thank
For
goodness, because
some,
that would have complicated a lot of things if I decided that was what I wanted.
right. I guess it happens. I'm sure there are people that do that and they're like, I'm going to do this for a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And then, but yeah, like that's like a whole other conversation too, of just the stripping away of the life force and like kind of that tantric lens. But so let's kind of shift gears a little bit. So you came back to the States from this retreat and then what? This was in
Yeah.
March. Okay.
So I came back a week early because I missed Thai. And well, just a lot of things. We were leaving for Peru like 3 weeks later, and I was like, I need a ground. But I wasn't tracking my cycle as strategically because I wasn't supposed to come home till after that, anyways, after ovulation. And I came home and really it's pretty miraculous when him and I both think about it. We're like the chances of that were so slim, but yeah, we found out I was pregnant, but anyhow, not found out. I had a deep knowing before my test, and that is the cool part that I feel like I wanted to kind of tie into the retreat. Is like I kept my practice going and I was doing walking for 15 minutes every morning and then 30 minutes of sitting. And yeah, one morning I was sitting and at the end just like pulled out my journal and started writing, and a thought had came in during, and it was about being pregnant. And I was like, that's weird. And I journaled just like, if I did find out I was pregnant right now, this is how life would go, kind of thing. And it would have been very shocking. And I really had like no good reason to be, without giving too many details. But it was just crazy that came out of the meditation. And I was like, that's weird. Like, But again, like that meditation was just so powerful, and the kind of state that I was able to get in of, it was so out of self. And then, yeah, a few days later, I woke up at like 4 a.m. with my hand on my belly, and it was like dead clear, like message download, like, I'm pregnant with a boy. And again,
Whoa.
this was like, it had to have been like 2 or 3 days after I conceived, because I didn't miss my bleed till like a few weeks after that. And
Hmm.
so I just kind of like sat with that, and I'm like, I was so confident and so sure from that meditation and that morning message. And Ty's like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way. I'm like, all right, we'll see. So,
Wow.
but that was really special to be able to receive that in meditation and know so firmly. And yeah, that was really cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
life has taken a lot of turns. It's funny because I went to Thailand saying pretty much like, this is the one thing that I need to do before I could become a mom. And it's not that we were wanting to anytime soon or going to try, but I was just like, this is like the last thing that like Marley needs before she
Mhm.
can, like, I guess because I want to go by myself. And I was like, that's like 2 months. That's not something that's going to happen. Like,
Mhm.
and we both say now, we're like, I went and did that because I said that it was the last thing that needed to happen, but there's no way I ever would have gotten pregnant had I not gone and missed you so much. And so it's a little
Right.
funny, like circle chicken and egg thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, we had a really big year of travel planned. We were in Peru, like we've officially discovered the night before we left, because I was just like, I want to know before I go to a foreign country and trek to Machu Picchu. And
Mm.
that was, yeah, it was a really special place to initiate everything and,
Yeah.
yeah,
Powerful.
process. And
Was that just for fun, or was there, I know Ty does some like photography. Was it for work? Was it pleasure? Like, what
it
was
was
that
a
trip?
retreat that he was doing photo for, and he got it for me for my birthday.
Mm.
And yeah,
Wow.
I think I was like a few days before 25 when I found out I was pregnant. I was like,
Wow.
almost made it to 25.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What a gift. And that's a lot of travel. And so, okay, Peru, and now you're back. And now, do you have more travel? We know you like to travel. So,
We're pausing. It was like a tricky decision. I think one of the hardest parts for me to be like, I don't want to give up everything we have, but also right now, like it feels healthy to pause and it feels better to pause. So we had Bali at the end of the year, and we did just do like a big 12-day road trip from Bend in California and Idaho. And we, that was like the last hurrah, which was really cool. And yeah, we got a house.
okay.
So yeah, I think also like that retreat really prepared me for truly, like, this is the biggest surrender of my whole life.
Mm.
I've never even any level near this amount of surrender. Like I've followed my heart, and I've gone out on limbs, and I've kind of gone with the wind and all of that, but I've never said like, okay, life, God, universe, whoever, like, you decided this is what's going to happen. And rather than me trying to get in the way of it and say like, it's not how it was supposed to go, or it's not my plan, like, it's the biggest, and probably the first time I can remember just saying like, okay, I'm just gonna
Mm.
sit back and take this ride. And it's not like a little dabble. It's like, okay, I'm having a baby.
Yes, big change. Yeah, that word surrender. And I talk on this off and on because I think we hear the word too. And like all those things you just said, like let go and go with the flow, go with the wind, and it's like that big surrender is such a different feeling. Like you just lean back in your chair, and that's like totally how I feel it too. There's something like that surrender. Like we can think all day that we're doing like, I let go, I surrender. But I think like, would you define surrender like just something, I mean, it's like you said, like just giving into life, like that's huge. I don't know. How would you define, I don't know what the actual definition is, surrender. How does it vary or differ from like letting go of something versus surrendering?
Yeah. It's interesting because I've been trying to vocalize it myself. It's like this realization that like I have never surrendered before, if I'm being honest. Like not like this at least.
Yeah.
It's saying like there's a bigger plan that's greater than whatever my human brain could ever come up with, and I'm gonna get out of the way.
Mm.
I feel
Yeah, it
like I
just gave me
have to
chills.
straight out like get out of the way right now, because there was so much of how I thought each year should go, or each phase of my life, or whatever it is. And there was this really big moment, and it was hard, but it was real and raw. And again, I was able to tap into that more than ever. And it was something in me saying, like, even though this is scary as hell and not what I thought or expected, I know that something incredible and amazing, like more than I ever could have created, is going to come from this if I say yes. And there was no good reason to think that other than just something else speaking to me, because that's another part of this right now, is I feel like it's not just me anymore. And yeah, there's this other kind of force, greater force coming through, and I'm just like listening closely for it.
Oh, so good. That get out of your own way. Like I've even put a post up out kind of out of nowhere because that phrase came through, and now it continues to kind of show up, and like that definitely feels like a hand in hand thing with what it takes to actually surrender. And then it's like, well, what does that mean? Get out of my own way. And like you sharing your journey with the meditation retreat, like I can't help but think or feel that it's like the meditation and things like that help us get out of our own way, because so much of it is like in the human mind. And not that the human mind is bad, but our ego or whatever part of it is just like making the plans and setting the expectations. And we have to like get that out of the way for the surrender to happen.
Yeah.
Does that feel true? Something like that and like when you meditate, like that's part of the getting out of your own way piece that play a role in it. Yeah.
I think, and I didn't touch on this, but it was really big. They touch on impermanence so often. And I think that was specific to it being a Buddhist retreat, but it was anytime anything came up, it was just like the word impermanent, and then it would dissipate. Because and the amount of plans even that I made while there, like I'd like something would come through and I'd be like, oh, I want to have a Thailand retreat. And I'd be like, okay, I'm in a retreat right now. Like, I'm not going to do this. But the amount of plans that I created in that even 8-day period in my head. And it's just like, not like, yeah, when we make plans, God laughs or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. I'd be doing the same. Like, no, I don't want to think that. And like, oh, you could do this, you could do that. All the doing, do this, do that. It's like, just
I was like,
be.
oh, I want to go on Rebecca's podcast. But that was because like that mindfulness piece was so huge that I was like, all right, we'll set that down. And then I think I reached out to you 2 months later or whatever, but
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And that's like so great. Just like, because some of those are just intentions. Like we don't have to take action on every, I have to do this thought in the moment, like, but the ones that feel really good and aligned, like to follow through on them later, but like not letting it rob you of the moment, but then also being open to inspiration like that to come through, I think is special. Yeah. Speaking of modern mindfulness, I'll ask you the question I ask every guest on the show. I mean, the topics there, we kind of talked about a little bit, but kind of in maybe a nutshell or one sentence sort of thing, like why is mindfulness important to people in our modern days?
Yeah, I think we just move so fast. Like even me and having all of these practices available, I move so fast through my days. And like one sentence, okay, here we go. But yeah, I think it just, life is going to be happening no matter what. And I think to slow down and feel all of it, it was what makes it special. And that's what we talked about. And the little things can feel so much better if we're moving slow. And I think I've redefined moving slow as it doesn't mean that I need to take like 3 hours out of my day to have this really slow practice. Like that's great when that's possible. But the biggest thing I gained from that retreat was if I'm doing something, I'm only doing that one thing. Like if I'm doing the dishes, I'm doing that. If I'm walking, I'm doing that. I'm not walking and texting. Like if I'm going to the bathroom, that's what my focus is on. And it can be a pleasurable experience. But yeah, to only be doing one thing at a time makes whatever it is more enjoyable. And then it's not like this sporadic energy of this, and that. And then all of a sudden, where'd the day go?
I feel that. Yeah. So
There's my
slowing
8
down.
sentences for you.
No, it was beautiful. No, it's hard to put all in one sentence, and it all fit just right. Nothing was fluff. Yeah. Love that. Well, we'll sort of wrap this up here, but I know we've got a couple last things to share. So one is the Zion Yoga Fest. I do want to bring it in because this is something you've been putting energy into, and now I get to be a part of. So very pumped in that. So how did you get involved in that? Tell me more. And when is it? Let everybody else know.
Yeah, Zion Yoga Fest, September 7th through 10th. And I got involved just because I love yoga festivals. And that's how Ty and I met, actually. And he works a bunch of them. So we kind of get to go around and pop into different ones. And when we moved here, we thought, like, wow, there should be one. And then we found out that there was Southern Utah Yoga Fest. So we connected with her, and she has 2 kids now. And she's like, life is just too much with my babies. Like, I can't do a whole thing. We're like, we'll help you. Let's make it happen. So then we brought a team of 5 together, and anyhow, that's how I got into it. And it's been great. There'll be a whole 4 days of yoga and meditation and breath work, qigong. So it's not just yoga, talks, discourses, and then also like excursions going all around Utah. And it's so beautiful here. So yeah, it should be an amazing 4 days. And yeah, you'll be there.
I'll be there teaching something. Yeah. Very fun. So it was definitely, I think I told you this, but it was before the pandemic. And I even asked Katie Brower just a quick note one day. I was like, I think I want to be a part of a yoga festival. What does that take? And I can't remember what she said. Something just like, okay, like let's go. Aww. And then pandemic, and so it was definitely the seed that was planted and then kind of had to be put on hold. So it just was sweet when you put that little note up, and I was like, sure, I'll apply for this. So very fun. We'll put all the links in the show notes for that. And I feel like you're like a yoga fest connoisseur, you and Ty both, I guess, but you like, I probably have been to more yoga fests than anybody else. I feel like, just from what I know and what it sounds like, just bouncing around, seeing the way they work. Like there's definitely an art to it, to putting on good ones. Right. And like all the components. So
much goes into it. I never would have guessed, having just like attended or even volunteered or even worked them. Now, like being on the back end, I'm like, holy smokes. Like, how did the founder ever do this by herself? But she did. Yeah.
Incredible. People with a passion and a purpose, just kind of going for it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so then last but not least, like, what do you have coming up? What do you have even virtually, in person, like anything and everything? Love to hear.
So in all reality, life's a little on pause. That's the surrender piece. But there was a big idea of doing like a mini meditation series and just making it a super small, like quick mini course, and just all the little pieces for people who want to get into meditation, period, but then also someone who wants to revamp their practice or learn more. Like, I feel like not just at this retreat, but over the years, I've learned so much. And then this retreat kind of pushed me over the edge where I was like, wow, this practice is something else. So wanting to share that. So there'll be just like a little waitlist link, because as much as I was super gung-ho about getting that out there, it's now not the first thing on my to-do list, but it'll come when it's time. And then what's the yoga class? Peru. I mentioned, I think, that we were in Peru right after we found out we were pregnant, and Cassie and I have ran retreats together for a while now. And that's another thing that I'm like, this is on pause for me, but I'm very blessed that she can still go. So I just went and did this whole Peru trip, and now I'm able to put together a retreat that she can take people on. Cool. So there will be a Reflect, Rebalance, Rebirth Peru retreat coming up. Peru retreat
this year or 2024?
2024, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, probably
cool.
June is what we're feeling. So
Okay.
lots of time for that. And
Yeah. Sweet. I'll
yeah.
get all those links in the notes, of course. And then also, I mean, are you an Instagrammer, a Facebooker? Like, where can people find you online? Website?
Instagram's the best. I have all the things, but Instagram is where I'm most present.
Okay, sweet. We'll drop that link there too. Any last words? Anything we missed covering?
I feel like the last little piece that keeps kind of dinging back into my head that I'm like, oh, that feels really important is from the retreat and talking about mindfulness and this podcast being modern mindfulness. The best tip that our teacher gave was like, mindfulness is directly correlated with like noise. So he's like, more mindful you're being, more quiet you're likely being. And that's kind of just fun to play with in daily life. Like I'm putting the dishes away and it's the difference between loud clangs and like what's happening in there. And just like, okay, what if it takes 5 minutes instead of 4 to do this task? How much more pleasurable will it be? So
wow, yeah. Silence, quiet. I'm so glad you shared that. And
yeah, I'm like, I gotta share that because that's helped so much.
Noise and like just all the noise, right? Like talking and making actual noise with dishes. And yeah, it's all. So and I don't know if you felt extra sensitive, but I know for me, the more I deepen my spiritual journey too, I feel like I'm even more sensitive to sound, like loud cars and by a train, and there is a thing of noise pollution, and noise can be damaging. So all the more a reason perhaps to like really embrace things that can be more quiet, more slow, just for health. I think there's actual health risks of too much noise too. So yeah, I'm gonna have to be more mindful putting the dishes away now that you said that. I'm gonna notice it. So good. Oh, this was so great, Marley. I'm so glad this finally happened. Thank you so much for your stories and your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Everyone, thank you for listening. Check out Marley, all the haps, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.